Before anybody asks, yes, I'll admit it right off the bat here, this is dead off-season time. So, whatever it is that we can talk about because it's cool to discuss, we're going to talk about it here. And I actually had this article saved up in my bookmarks for like a month or two. Actually, I think it was just about a month. And we hadn't done anything with it up until this point. So I was like, hey, I need a 10 a.m. topic. Let's go over some stuff that revolves around Eastern NHL teams. And so this article was saved in here, and there was one idea that was very piquant, in my opinion, which is why we're talking about it here today. Let's go over onto Fansided.com. Yes, it is again Fansided, but this time, instead of it actually being a Fansided.com version for a specific NHL team's fanbase, this is just the Fansided version of the NHL. And this article right here is a Rumours piece, where the writer, Brad Berriman, labels 3 teams who should make a trade offer for Patrick Kane. Now, Lego, this is a video talking about one trade idea. What about the other ones? Well, the other ones, I don't really think they're as interesting, which is why we're talking about this specific trade offer itself, because if you go over to the article, if you go over onto the second page, you can take a look at what exactly the writer says the Philadelphia Flyers should do to acquire a Patrick Kane-like player. So, let's go over onto the article over here and discuss why these teams should make a trade offer. I'm going to offer my own opinions, my own analysis, and reaction to this idea, so stick around if you want to see that. Also, comment in the comments below what you think of these ideas over here. Also, I'll leave a link in the description to this article, so go ahead, check it out. Check the other trade offers made for the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres for Patrick Kane as written in this piece. And without further ado, let's get things going. So, the article on the Philadelphia Flyers side of things talks about how the Flyers, with their $4.8 million in cap space right now, which was accurate at the time of the article's publication a month ago, and is still accurate today at the time of recording this video at 2 a.m. November 30th, PST, but the Flyers are in a spot where many people were speculating the potential trades of guys like Shayne Gostisbehere, etc. We made a few videos talking about some ideas for high-scoring forwards, which was apparently a target that the Philadelphia Flyers had. We saw guys like Patrik Laine and other guys like Johnny Gaudreau enter this trade discussion right here with Philadelphia. But this article proposes one other player, and the article notes it over here: if the Flyers are not able to go after a Patrik Laine, who knows if a Patrick Kane would be in their best interests. But first off, let's dissect why exactly do the Flyers want a goal scorer? Well, it's because, they didn't score any goals in the playoffs, this most recent Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah, we saw them take out the Montreal Canadiens because Carter Hart was very, very good. We saw them actually lose to the New York Islanders because, hey, they couldn't get any offense there. So the Flyers are in a position where, despite the fact that they do have a very deep, very talented forward core, people have been speculating that a huge dynamo offensive piece could still be on their radar. So, if Laine is off the table, then a pivot to Patrick Kane cannot be ruled out. Let's figure Patrick Kane is willing to go to Philadelphia, and Chicago possibly retains a bit of his salary. But this trade right here is an idea that works out without any money being retained. The trade idea is Patrick Kane in exchange for Shayne Gostisbehere, a 2021 first-round pick, and Travis Konecny. Now, I will say, this idea is an ambitious one, for sure. The Philadelphia Flyers and Patrick Kane, I don't know how I would be able to actually watch something like that. Just knowing what happened in 2010, where Patrick Kane scored the Stanley Cup winning overtime goal in Philadelphia. It would be so weird to see a swap like this, where Patrick Kane eventually ends up playing for the team, and the fan base that he absolutely crushed all those years ago. In fact, it was a decade ago. Oh my gosh, can you believe that? Patrick Kane did his magic in Philly 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, we're getting old. But Patrick Kane is a guy whom, if you trade, you're only making a trade if your dance partner is overpaying. That's just kind of how it goes with #1 stars in the NHL. Guys who are franchise caliber on your team, who can define your organization, and no matter if he was on a different organization, he probably could still define that other organization too. These are the guys who you overpay for. And simply put, Shayne Gostisbehere, a first, and Konecny is not an overpayment. However, the caveat is if Patrick Kane is in a position to willingly request a trade, then hey, okay, maybe then the other team has some leverage. But because that's not in this conversation over here, let's just take it at face value the way it is right now. Kane, Gostisbehere first, Konecny, Chicago says no. As for the Flyers, hey, I think they actually say yes to this deal, 110%. Because if Shayne Gostisbehere, if you assume this guy plays in the AHL again, which is a possibility because he hasn't been amazing the past few seasons, even though I'm a believer in Shayne Gostisbehere, even though I still think this guy can be good, I'm not gonna lie, this guy can be not good. So, what you're doing on paper is you're pretty much just upgrading Travis Konecny to Patrick Kane. And I know Travis Konechny's a good player. I know Philadelphia fans love this guy. I know they understand the value he brings to your team. Just under a point per game, playing with Giroux, sometimes playing with other guys, Kevin Hayes. Konechny's a good player, but if you guys want to win a cup, which many people thought the Flyers would have won the cup this year because their postseason performance before the playoffs actually began was so good, you want Patrick Kane on your squad. Aside from the sentimental values of you having the guy who eliminated you in the finals 10 years ago on your team, he's still a 100-point player. He's still a point-per-game player in his sleep. He's still a guy who can help out there, play alongside a Giroux and Voracek. Oh my gosh, can you imagine that power play? It would be kind of weird to try to fit that in with the whole first line, Couturier, Giroux, Voracek, and have Kevin Hayes with Kane, I guess, on the second line, but like, come on. Patrick Kane hasn't had to play with elite players his entire career, and having him by himself in a sheltered scoring role certainly wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Plus, you could try him out with Oskar Lindblom. That'd be cool. But of course, that's only one perspective. The Chicago Blackhawks would say no to this. They absolutely would. Because Patrick Kane, at the end of the day, he still holds tremendous value. And even though Travis Konecny is a guy who many people see long-term growth with, he's already under a point per game right now. But long-term, the sky's the limit for Travis Konecny. It's just the value. Sure, the first-round pick is there to balance things out and to add another potential prospect, but that first-round pick's probably going to be like, what, the end of the first round? If I'm the Chicago Blackhawks, I want a guaranteed bona fide stud today to also get included in a Patrick Kane trade. If you're not including that, then you're adding way more than just Konecny and a first. Take a look at what Erik Karlsson got. He was in a contract year where people didn't know where he was going to resign, and he got a huge haul. So many prospects, so many guys to go over there, and a third overall guy as well. That wasn't planned for, but you get the idea. Shayne Gostisbehere is a player who, quite frankly, teams didn't really want, which is probably why he's still on the Flyers today. We've already known that he's been a guy in these Flyers trade rumors for a year now, pretty much. So the fact that he's still here means that there is somewhat of an undesirable quality to the type of player that he is. It's not like you can just add on all the stuff that you don't want onto a trade proposal for Patrick Kane of all people and have them say yes. It's like NHL franchise mode where you just say, okay, no, you're not accepting the offer? All right, let's add on a second-round pick. You accepted now? Nope, okay, let's add on a third. Accepted now? Nope, okay, let's add on a fourth. Because even in a worst-case scenario for the Philadelphia Flyers, let's say the Flyers do this trade, just for the sake of saying it, and they end up tanking. They're terrible. Even with Patrick Kane, they suck. First overall right there. Okay, at the end of the day, the trade is Patrick Kane for Shayne Gostisbehere, Konecny, and the first overall pick in the 2021 draft that we don't even know who the first overall pick is going to be. We made a video about this yesterday, but Aatu Raty was supposed to be first overall, but now that first overall conversation has like 5, 6, 7, 8 names into it. And at the end of the day, even if you take a look at it and say, okay, for the sake of making a point, let's just say Aatu Raty. Aatu Raty, who is a very good number one center potential player with Konecny, with Gostisbehere, it's not enough. Straight up. Even with the money and all that stuff included, Patrick Kane is still Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane is still a number one point producer in this entire league. And you don't give that up for something that is anything less than an overpayment. So talk to me in the comments what you think about this idea. I know I'm pulling stuff out of the hat here for this one because there is nothing else to talk about here in the offseason, so just live with it. I'm sorry if I offended anybody with this kind of video, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a cool conversation to have, right? So talk to me in the comments what you think. Would you see the Philadelphia Flyers playing with a Patrick Kane? How do you think that would go? Do you think that would be very nice? I honestly think it would be really weird seeing Patrick Kane in the Flyers jerseys just because of what he did, but, you know, weirder things have happened in the NHL, I guess I would say. Obviously, the idea is definitely not something that is ever going to come true, but for the sake of discussing about it, that's kind of why we brought it up here on the channel. So, talk to me in the comments what you think about this idea. Link in the description to the article if you enjoyed this video, Trolls99. and bye.